In this video, I want to discuss the topic of Shedeur Sanders versus Dillon Gabriel and why Shedeur Sanders has always been better than Dillon Gabriel in high school, in college. I mean, Dillon went to multiple colleges, just like Shedeur did, but he was in college for 6 years, whereas Shedeur was in college the normal standard 4 years. But I primarily want to focus on their time with the Cleveland Browns. Now's a good time to dissect Shedeur versus Dillon Gabriel, considering they both have 6 starts in the NFL. And I know y'all see the graphic circulating around where they have Dillon Gabriel 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and then it has Shedeur Sanders 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, without much context to back those claims up. If you just look at surface level, Shedeur Sanders has around a 68% passer rating. Dillon Gabriel has around an 80% passer rating. So if you just go just simply by that alone, you will come to the conclusion that Dillon Gabriel is the better quarterback than Shedeur Sanders. But that's unequivocally false to anybody that's actually watched Cleveland Browns football. See, the thing is, a lot of people don't watch Cleveland Browns football because, frankly, unless you're invested as a Cleveland Browns fan or a Shedeur Sanders fan, you aren't going to watch much of Cleveland Browns football. Well, that's where your boy KSK Sports comes to bat, because I've seen every Cleveland Browns game this year multiple times. I've seen all 22 of both Shedeur Sanders. I've seen all 22 of Dillon Gabriel. And I can unequivocally say, without a shadow of a doubt, Shedeur Sanders is the better quarterback than Dillon Gabriel. Dillon Gabriel, his average yard per attempt was 5.1 on the season. Dillon Gabriel, in 3 of his 6 starts, had 0 touchdowns, 0 interception games. Let me specify that for you. If you are a quarterback and you have 0 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, you ain't doing too much. That's equivalent to a basketball player out there just getting cardio, essentially. You're out there just passing yards. You really had no impact on winning or losing. You were just out there taking up space, essentially. Whereas Shedeur Sanders has contributed to winning. Okay? They're 2-4 as opposed to 1-5. And if we're going to be frank about it, the Browns, they were in the Tennessee game. They should be 3-3 with Shedeur Sanders as their quarterback, as the starter. Then the question of, is Shedeur the starter next year, would be crystal clear. Now it's a little muddy because he's 2-4. They didn't win the Tennessee game. I mean, he threw 364 yards, accounted for 4 touchdowns. And then what does Kevin Stefanski do in his infinite wisdom? He takes Shedeur out, down 2 points. You need a 2-point conversion, and y'all know what happened, man. It was just an unequivocal failure, epic, on an epic scale. But Dillon Gabriel did not push the ball downfield. I don't think Dillon Gabriel had one singular passing play over 30-plus yards this season. You know how many Shedeurs had? At least 10. At least 10. And I believe he had one in the last game against the, who did they play on Sunday? In the game on Sunday, he had a 42-yard pass against the Steelers. So he had another one. And I think the fan and touchdown was over 30 yards as well. So that's 12 as they categorize dynamic plays. Actually, dynamic plays are 25-plus yard passing plays, and I believe 20-yard run plays. Those are categorized as dynamic plays. Dillon didn't I don't recall Dillon Gabriel having very many of those dynamic plays that you need as an offense. So Dillon Gabriel had a higher passer rating. But I also pointed out that Dillon Gabriel had 3 starts, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Okay, I understand Shedeur has had a game where he had 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I get that. That was the only game he did not throw a touchdown pass. Every other game, he's throwing a touchdown pass in. Just saying. The Raiders game, threw a touchdown pass in. The Niners game, he had 1 touchdown pass in. So Shedeur Sanders, in 5 of his 6 starts, has a touchdown pass. whereas Dillon Gabriel in 3 of his 6 starts has a touchdown pass. Now, Dillon Gabriel has had a couple games where he's had 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He had 2 of those games against the Vikings and against the Jets. So that's good for him. But also in those games, he didn't throw the ball. He threw the ball, I think, 33 times in the Vikings game. 33 times, 190 yards. You do the yards per attempt. That's not a whole lot of yards per attempt. Also, he had Dillon Gabriel, 221 yards in the Pittsburgh Steelers game, the first matchup, on 52 attempts. That yards per attempt, that's why the yards per attempt is so low, 5.9. That is a big difference, 5.1 yards per attempt as compared to Shedeur's 6.8. That's a massive difference. That just tells you everything you need to know between Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. One quarterback is not going to push the ball down the field. One quarterback had 3 out of 6 starts where he had 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Whereas the other quarterback, extremely volatile. Shedeur Sanders has had a game where he had a 30 rating against the Chicago Bears. And he also had one where he was a shade under 100 in the Tennessee Titans game. It was around 98. So with Shedeur, the ceiling is much higher than Dillon Gabriel's. All right, that's why he got thrust in when he did. All right, we're going to see what we have in him. And we saw that his ceiling was much higher than Dillon Gabriel's. But we also saw that Dillon Gabriel's flat line, his basement is a little bit higher than Shedeur Sanders, much higher. I mean, Shedeur's basement is below the earth. I mean, when Shedeur is bad, he's bad. But when Shedeur is good, Shedeur is definitely a top 20 to 25 quarterback in the NFL. He's definitely one of the top 32 guys in the NFL, for being frank about it. So he should be a starter next season. Whereas Dillon Gabriel showed no attributes that would lead me to believe that he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. All right, when you have 3 out of 6 starts, you have 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, you are you are doing the bare minimum. At least Shedeur throwing 3 interceptions in a game. Now, I'm not saying that's great. At least Shedeur is pushing the ball down the field. He just ran into a buzzsaw that was the Chicago Bears defense, who is the most opportunistic defense in the entire league. Dillon Gabriel also had a game where he faced off against a very opportunistic defense. It's funny because their common opponent that both of them faced off against, Shedeur faced off against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He won that game. Okay? He won that game on 23 pass attempts. And he had 5 out of 6. He only had 6 attempts in the second half against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Whereas Dillon Gabriel was tasked to draw back 58 times against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So if you really want a synopsis on those 2 quarterbacks, what fair barometer than Dillon Gabriel versus Steelers and Shedeur Sanders versus the Steelers? All right, that's one of those games that Dillon Gabriel had a 0 touchdown, 0 interception game. I mean, he gave the team 0 chance to win when you have 0 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Actually, in that game, you watch that game, I mean, if we're going to be real about it, he probably should have had about 3 interceptions thrown in that game. All right, the 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions is kind of skewed because Dillon Gabriel has had a lot of turnover-worthy throws. Now, Shedeur has 2. Only problem is that Shedeur Sanders, his turnover-worthy throws, most of them have converted to actual interceptions, whereas Dillon Gabriel, his turnover-worthy throws, only 2 netted interceptions. And we want to talk about some bad interceptions. Dillon Gabriel had a real bad interception in the Patriots game where he rolled out to the left and he shot-putted a ball, very similarly to how Shedeur Sanders shot-putted a ball to Jerry Jeudy in the Steelers game. All right, so intentional grounding. Let's talk about intentional grounding. Dillon Gabriel had one of the worst intentional grounding safeties in NFL history. I mean, Dan Orlovsky, thanks you, Dillon Gabriel, because now Dillon Gabriel has the worst intentional grounding safety in the NFL. Dan Orlovsky, you are off the hook. But Shedeur Sanders, I mean, he's had a couple bad intentional grounds, but not as bad as Dillon Gabriel's. So, yeah, in a vacuum, if you just put those stats up together, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, both in 6 games. Yeah, sure. Dillon Gabriel's stats on the surface look better than Shedeur. But when you start digging into it, when you actually start watching film, when you start actually adding nuance to the equation, then it's unequivocal that Shedeur Sanders is better than Dillon Gabriel. All right? I don't care about EPA. I don't care about nerd stats. Okay? Did you watch the game? Did you watch it a second time? What do your eyes tell you? All right? Facts over feelings. Okay? Facts over feelings. Okay? I'm just saying. What did your eyes tell you? Did your eyes tell you that Dillon Gabriel gave the Browns the best opportunity to win? Or did Shedeur? As Browns fans, did you have faith that at any point that Dillon Gabriel would win a game? Let's talk about wins and losses, okay? So Dillon Gabriel, his one win, he threw for 116 yards. The Browns turned the Dolphins over. They forced Tua Tagovailoa. They forced him to 3 interceptions in that game. And I believe they also had a fumble in that game. So they forced 4 turnovers. And a couple of those interceptions set up really good field position for Dillon Gabriel. So yeah, he got his first win. 13 out of 18, 116 yards. And I believe that was also one of the games where he had 0 touchdowns, 0 picks. So in his win, all I heard was, Shedeur Sanders. The defense carried the way for Shedeur Sanders. What? So the defense didn't carry the way for Dillon Gabriel throwing for 116 yards? What are we talking about here? See, a lot of people, they don't forget about the early part of the season. Your boy KSK got a long elephant type of memory. 13 for 18, 116 yards compared to what Shedeur did. 186 yards, 17 out of 23, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and a win. I'm just saying, one looks markedly better than the other. Also, in Shedeur's other win, they faced off against the Raiders. He had, I think it was 11 for 20, over 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. I think the rating was like 88. So he wasn't tasked to do much in that game, but when he, when he was called to make a big play in that game, and let's talk about the screen game, because Shedeur screen pass to Dillon Sampson goes for a touchdown. Dillon Gabriel in the same situation in the Jets game, a wide receiver screen to Malachi Corley. Y'all know the infamous play where he threw it into the 8th row at MetLife Stadium. Like, bro, then he was like, yeah, it was your fault, bro. It's a simple pass. Wyatt Teller has his defender on the ground. He's like, bro, you're not getting up. And then Dillon airmails Malachi Corley. What are we talking about? But that's y'all boy. That's your boy. See, the thing is, people don't like Shedeur in brown spaces. There's a lot of people that don't like Shedeur in brown spaces. So they'll run with a stat like, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Look what Shedeur has. Shedeur has 10 interceptions. Oh, gosh. Man, nobody's never been a great quarterback throwing a lot of interceptions in their rookie season. I mean, Brock Purdy continues to throw interceptions that are bad. But he also backs it up with really good play because he has great talent around him. Give Shedeur some great talent around him. Get him some actual receivers. Get him an offensive line. Watch him cook this year. He has shown me enough this season. How many times this season has Cam Robinson been beat at left tackle? Let's talk about the tackle situations on both sides. And let's talk about that. Dillon Gabriel, essentially, all his 6 starts, had a much healthier line. Had actual starters in front of him, and he produced what he produced. And also, let's add the nuance that he had reps with the ones all training camp. So with all that built-in advantage, he still did not look better at any point in the season than Shedeur Sanders because he simply did not push the tempo. He simply did not push the ball down the field. He had 3 out of 6 starts. We had 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That leads me to believe he was unwilling to take any chances. And you cannot win in the NFL with a quarterback that takes 0 risk. You cannot win consistently in the NFL with a quarterback that takes zero risk. That's the main difference between Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel. One quarterback is willing to take risk, and one quarterback was not willing to take risk. Okay? It looked very Deshaun Watson-esque. Deshaun Watson in 2024, he looked like he was playing not to make an interception. And that is a horrible way to play football. He was more worried about, he was kind of like in the Aaron Rodgers camp where he's like, I'm not going to get sacked by Myles Garrett. That was Dillon Gabriel when he played. He played not to make a mistake, and that's not a way to play. Shedeur kind of does it in a smaller capacity when he makes a mistake. I would like Shedeur Sanders to be more like Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy still has a propensity to put balls in bad spots, but he has the type of cachet and he has the type of short memory where he's like, all right, I threw a pick six first play of the game. Then Brock Purdy subsequently threw 5 touchdown passes in that Bears-Niners game. That's the next step for Shedeur. All right, you make a bad play. You need to have a short memory, and Shedeur this season has not had a short memory. Okay, he's thrown interceptions, and then it's compounded to other bad throws and more interceptions. Shedeur, you got to have a short memory. Okay, you throw an interception. It's like the first interception really spooked him because after that he really didn't do much. The Jack Sawyer one. That's gonna happen. You're gonna have a string of bad luck where your offensive lineman, well, hopefully, not if they get better linemen, their lineman's not gonna get beat easily, and then your throw is gonna be affected. And Jack Sawyer's in the right place at the right time. Hopefully they get better line that holds up because they had a better lineman that held up. Shedeur has 1 interception in that game. All right. And also there have been multiple games this year where the Shedeur's interceptions have been directly linked to offensive line play being terrible. I would say like 5 out of Shedeur's 10 interceptions were directly correlated to terrible offensive linemen, them being hit into him as he's about to throw and it affecting the pass. Whereas the other 5 were bad decisions by Shedeur. I mean, the one where Jerry Jeudy's been a culprit in a couple. I mean, Shedeur Sanders on 1 touchdown pass in the 1 interception in the Chicago Bears game hit Jerry Jeudy right here, and a defender from Chicago rustled it away. All right, so that's 1 interception for Shedeur. Also, in the last game against Pittsburgh, he threw up a prayer to Jerry Jeudy. Now, the defender intercepted. That was a bad decision by Shedeur, for sure. But I would have liked Jerry Jeudy to do a little bit more to try to knock the ball down. You know, bro. I don't even care if you get a penalty. Whatever, get a penalty, man. Throw this cat to the floor, man. Get an unnecessary roughness. That's better than an interception. Okay? He had 0 effort trying to get that ball. Now, I'm not absolving Shedeur Sanders for throwing that pass. It was a bad pass, but the effort from Jerry Jeudy to make that an incompletion or, maybe a catch by him, he didn't really give a lot of effort for that. So, yeah. I want to end with, Dillon Gabriel. I don't hate Dillon Gabriel. But as far as being a starter for the Cleveland Browns, I mean, we've seen enough from him to know that he's not a starter. He's not a starter at all. He'd be a great backup. With Shedeur, it's a little bit more intriguing. You're like, well, if you put talent around him, it's possible. Because remember, Dillon Gabriel had a offensive line that was healthier when he started. Also had a healthy Quinshon Judkins, Dylan Sampson. Had the receiving core as healthy as it was early. Had a healthy Njoku. Had a healthy Fannin. So he had the whole band of characters. Whereas Shedeur is thrown to Sal Cannella, who sounds like he owns a pizzeria in Youngstown, Ohio, instead of being an NFL tight end. But let me end right there. KSK Sports rolling out. Like and subscribe for more Browns content, or me just popping up on live, just talking mess. You never know when I'm going to pop up live, but that's all I have for this one. Appreciate the love and support. Help your boy get to 200 subs. I'm about 7 subs away. Give me the 200 by the end of the year. That would be awesome. All right, I'm rolling out. Peace.